always be alone, including antisocial. Doesn't make any sense. God, pretty much, nothing will ever gonna change. It's just frustrating and upsetting just thinking about it. Felt like I have to pay someone to, to have some kind of so that my word doesn't mean have some value, that it is, so that it means something, so that I don't get to be excluded and all of that. It's like I want to be part of this community. I want to able to talk with another person. I don't want my words to not have any meaning or anything like that. It's like I mean, so I don't know. Maybe you thought. Let's just say I don't know who would come upon. I don't know. Maybe you win the Super Lotto or something. Have some sort of enlightenment in your life, and you came upon this video, and you just want to make that tiny bit of act of mercy on me. Just like to maybe because you want the super lottery or something. It's like you want to give me that tiny bit of this act of mercy, this tiny bit of it. Just like kind of say something to me that maybe one day I would able to overcome being alone, including antisocial. Maybe you would say that to me. It's like hang on there. It's like so anyway, like I was saying, just one tiny bit of act, tiny bit of mercy. Please give me a tiny bit of mercy. It's like so anyway, just basically that's what we just don't, there's so many goals in life. Why my goal is just like wanting a tiny bit of mercy. It's just like why people have so many goals in life, and my goal is just wanting a tiny bit of mercy. It's like So pretty much, it's like, yeah. So we just start with a tiny bit of mercy. You know, just, please give me a tiny bit of mercy. So I'm just gonna, work on that. That able to get that tiny bit of mercy. Maybe one day could talk about I have trophies in my life and things like that, and have to get that tiny bit of mercy and things like that. So anyway, so I don't know that time, like earlier I was just talking about Steve, helping Steve out, because Dominic was picking on him and making fun of him. And I did brought up the empty-handed combat lead, and that's part of my trophy. Though there are time I did not really means to talk about my trophy, but come upon these topics related to my trophies and things like that, and there's time to clarify the confusion. I would say that, I created the empty-handed combat lead, I won all my empty-handed combat fights, and to clarify the confusion and things like that. And like I was saying, even though, like, I was trying to focus on getting a tiny bit of mercy, but that time, because of the topic related to each other, the time it did come upon a topic related to my trophy and things like that, and that time I have to clarify the confusion, so it would state my trophies is to clarify the confusion and things like that, and especially, getting elected as club president and served it for 4 years. I felt that was one of my really, like, beating the odds and all of that, to, like, again, I really hated this topic a lot, because I want to focus on the very first thing, like having a tiny bit of mercy first, but it would be confusing, it's like not saying anything about it and things like that, it's like it's not a crime to serve as club president, it's like, so like I was saying, really wanted to God, please. So just focus on the beginning, like just please give me a tiny bit of mercy. You know, it's like I just want to be, you know, it's like I don't have to go through so much trouble and spend so much money just to talk with another person. You know, that's that tiny bit of mercy. You know, it's like basically it's just kind of like that. Okay, so anyway, so like I'm just gonna, I don't know, it would, you know, for now, you know, just that tiny bit of mercy for me is just that. Okay, I don't know why the screen blur out. Okay, the screen just blurred it out. So anyway, so I'm going to, basically I just wanted to, I don't know, I just, I don't know, like I remember those few times talking with my father, it was just like, what if you never immigrated to the USA? You know, it's just like, I mean, after he insists to want me to talk with him, you know, so I remember a few times, it's like, what if we didn't immigrate to the USA? You know, even though I felt it's really hard to say that to him because my parents, you know, him and my mother went through very tough struggle for 11 years to get through the USA immigration process to enable our whole family to immigrate to USA. So I felt saying that's very harsh for him, but like I'm saying, you know, it's like, what if we didn't immigrate to the USA? You know, it's sort of like, and it's like, you know, it's like, pretty much, you know, it's what I was trying to say. You know, it's like why don't I matter in the USA? Don't exist in the USA, and it's like, and can we get a tiny bit of mercy and to talk with a person to go through so much trouble and spend so much money, and it's like, so anyway, I just, you know, it's like, So, if you, but my father, he came up to me, he first, he's there and he asked at me those questions and days after day. That's why I say that to him, it's just like, have anyone came up to me like my father and asked at me those questions for me to say that to that person, it's like, my father is like, and it's kind of like want to shake on his wheelchair, it's like, what if we didn't immigrate to the USA, it's like, but he's like the only person who came up to me and doesn't use other ways to communicate with me and things like that, it's like, anyway, so please just give me a tiny bit of mercy. It's like, I just wanted to able to overcome being alone, including antisocial, to able to be part of this community, to able to don't have to spend so much money, go through so much trouble just to talk with another person, and to just, these things that all people who live in San Diego should have, just like this tiny bit of mercy, it's like, anyway, okay, so starting now, like, I'm just gonna go, so, it's not happening, and but I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm not getting that tiny bit of mercy, I don't know why I'm being treated like this, I'm sorry to myself, who has been mistreated, because no one would give me that tiny bit of mercy, so I'm sorry to myself, I'm sorry, I'm the only person who would give myself that tiny bit of mercy. So pretty much starting from today on, I don't know what will happen. Been just requesting, just like for that tiny bit of mercy, and just want to keep on that, it's like, so I don't know what will happen. It's been requesting for that tiny bit of mercy. So anyway, I will be reading out loud the article, like the one that I point out earlier in my other video on the controversy on writing Arowra. It's around almost 100 pages, so I have to print it out and then read it out loud in this camcorder. And after I'm done doing that, I will start reading the Arowra novels out loud, chapter by chapter. I don't know what will happen. Will I get that tiny bit of mercy or not? I'm sorry to myself who got mistreated. I'm very sorry. Should have never just ignored it, the Dominic and Steve fight, just never, like, I'm sorry. I don't know why he had to borrow my money that day. I'm sorry to myself who got mistreated. So anyway, so I'm gonna start doing that, and maybe, like, I don't know, like, that's why I keep it at, maybe I get that tiny bit of mercy. That's what I'm gonna keep it at on, it's like, I'm sorry I got mistreated. So that's the plan, pretty much. Hopefully I have enough money to print out all those copies to read out loud. Because the novel is pretty long, like not longer than the controversy I'm writing Arowra. That's around 100 pages. So, like, I'm just, just right now, just that's the plan, just trying to have enough funds to print out all of that to read out loud. And it's just gonna go by day and just hanging on to that belief that I will have a tiny bit of mercy. And pretty much I'm gonna keep that controversy on writing Arowra, that document. It's around almost 100 pages. It's around there. Keeping at, just pretty much like all the arguments is about how I end up writing the Atlantic novel. It's like, to my, alright, it's, I don't know, like, I remember January 1999 when I made my commitments to improving my communication skill, because I felt that my inferior background had created communication problems to my life. So I remember make that commitment, that through journalism I would start, improve my communication skill, doing as much journal keeping as I can. And starting from that day on, it's just like, just really, I don't know, like, I couldn't afford to have these sort of goals, is that one day would able to write Atlantic novel and things like that. And then in my high school year in portfolio, I felt maybe I'm not gonna able to graduate, and because I'm not gonna able to finish my portfolio in time, or even if I finish my portfolio in time, how am I have to, I have problems speaking in front of people, and especially they're panelists, and they're judging me to able to graduate or not. It's going to create even more pressure to me. So it felt like, even if I finish my portfolio, I'm still not gonna graduate because I won't able to speak in front of the panelists and things like that. You know, it's like. So, you know, just like taking that bold stand and going with what Miss Spectors and Coach Sheehy, you know, they both my English teacher. Miss Spector is my 9th and 10th grade English teacher. Coach Sheehy is my 11th grade English teacher. And advisor Brian Kurt is my 12th grade English teacher. So all those English teachers, also he is my advisor for journalism, also advisor Brian, also my journalism advisor. So, you know, all those English teachers has been encouraging me, you know, that to follow, you know, like as a novelist, you know, just they gave me those encouragement, you know, as my English teacher. And so I felt that, you know, if I was able to accept this encouragement, I felt maybe I would use that as part of, like, during my, like, the, you know, the presentation in front of the panelists. So I was like, kind of like I'm saying, you know, it's just, so kind of go with that, you know, it's like, so pretty much, that's what, like, I wrote in my portfolio, you know, it's like, it is really, like, I don't know, like, the word I used was, might be something that would consider as very hard to achieve, but I'm, you know, set that goal on becoming a novelist and things like that, you know, just so that would able to stand up and make my presentation in front of the panelists and things like that. I felt like I have to take that step, you know, I have to really have a lot of courage and things like that. And it felt, what's matter is I make my presentation, I finish my portfolio, and I graduate from high school. I thought that is what counts, you know, it's like, I'm not gonna get harshly judged it, and it's like, so pretty much, you know, it's like, just didn't, God. I suppose, you know, it's, God, I suppose, you know, it's like, I was really